Hello, my name is Mark Juarez, and I'm the founder of the Happy Company. But today I'm here to talk about something a little bit different. 3 years ago, from today, I had a major stroke while I was on a Zoom call, just like this, help, talking to a very good friend and colleague. We were designing a health product together. He happened to be a doctor. And as we were talking, I have a tendency of talking with my hands. And that day, when I was trying to form an umbrella, this hand wouldn't go up. And I kept dropping it. I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And I guess at the same time, my face started to distort. And he recognized I was having a major stroke. He said, go to the hospital right away. I went to the hospital, or I called my assistant because without an arm and the use of the right side and the leg, it was a little hard to walk, and and certainly would have been difficult to drive a car. My assistant rushed me to the hospital, and fortunately, it was very fast. In fact, there's an acronym about having a stroke called FAST, which you basically suggests you need to, the quicker you can get to the hospital, the better your outcome. I was very fortunate as I was there within minutes, and but I learned a lot from the stroke. While I was laying in the hospital, I could hear everything, even though I couldn't talk or respond. And they were asking my assistant, did I have a will? Did I make arrangements? So if I died, what things were going to do? And she was freaking out. She said, wait, why are you asking this? He's not going to die. And um, but all I could think about were the things I wanted to do, the books I wanted to finish, that I wanted to release. Again, the happy massager. I had so many ideas the next time around how I could come back and make even a greater impact. And I had put in so much thought and so many dreams. And I thought, no, this cannot be possible. I've got to come back. And I was so grateful for a support group of friends that were just unbelievably supportive. And in spite of the doctor saying that it was very likely for 6 months, I wouldn't be able to walk, I wouldn't be able to talk, and it would be at least a year before I could even think about going back to work. I refused to accept that. 3 weeks later, I returned to work. I couldn't talk. My assistant, she measured my progress by the number of shots. I don't drink. So one shot of alcohol, I'm pretty drunk. And she said, when the stroke first happened, I sounded like I'd had 10 shots of whiskey. She said, nobody can understand you, but I can understand you because I know you and I know what you're trying to say, even though the words wouldn't come out. And I'm so with her assistance, I was able to start back to work only 2 hours a day, but that was a huge accomplishment. I remember in the hospital around the 10th day, I was able to start to eat again. I couldn't eat or drink for several days. And I love bananas. And they brought me a banana. I was so excited. And I was determined with my right arm, which was paralyzed and couldn't even lift it, to try to lift this banana and take a bite. I know that sounds crazy. It seems so easy, but it wasn't for me. That banana felt like it weighed 100 pounds. But with sheer determination, I was able to rise it enough to take a bite. And for me, that was the beginning to say I was going to overcome everything. My physiotherapist, when I asked his advice, what would you do? It was very hard to talk to doctors, or they're very busy. But he spent time with me. And I said, what can I do? If you were in my shoes, what are the things that you think might help me regain the, who I was again? He thought about it for a moment and he said, I think walking and drinking water are the two best things you could do. And I walked every moment I could. It turns out there was an extraordinary study in 2015 in Johns Hopkins University. Unfortunately, a study that got buried because I don't think people can make money from it. But they discovered that walking, going back and moving your arms are the best thing you could do immediately after stroke. Because when you have a stroke, a part of your brain dies. And the example they gave is it's like if you, I happen to live in San Francisco. Imagine you're used to driving from point A to point B every day, and there's this huge boulder that just fell in San Francisco, and no longer you can go from A to B like you used to. You have to find a new way to get there because there's a boulder in the way. That's what happens in a stroke. Part of your brain dies, and you have to, but our brains are so resilient that we can find new ways to get there. You just got to be open. And the trick is to reconnect those neurons. I had to learn to walk. I had to learn to talk again. I had to learn to shave. In fact, I grew a beard because I couldn't shave. I couldn't brush my teeth. I became reliant on people when I was so fiercely independent that I would refuse help from anybody. But I learned, I had to relearn so many things in life. But the stroke was an opportunity to relearn, to look at life from a very different way. It was always something that we advocated in our company, that behind every challenge was an opportunity. When one door closes, get up and look excitedly look for another door to open, because that door might present even a more amazing opportunity. And I felt at the time, oh, how am I ever going to do this? But now I can walk well. I was walking 6 miles after 6 weeks, something they never thought was possible. And I've returned to work 12-hour days again because I have so much passion for what I do. I believe work is the best medicine, but it's not just work. It's following your passion. It's following your dreams. It's bringing value to other people's lives in a way that uplifts you. So celebrating the stroke after 3 years is a huge accomplishment. They said immediately after a stroke, you're at great risk of having a second stroke. And every day that you don't, your chances diminish a little bit. If you can go a year without a second stroke, you've done well. 2 years, you've done very well. And if you can go 3 years, you're pretty safe. And now I have just successfully accomplished the 3 year mark of not only just having a stroke, but celebrating all the possibilities of life. Prior to the stroke, I was very healthy. My friends were amazed. They're like, you're the last person we would imagine having a stroke. I ran every day. I ate really good food. And my friends said, look at, we're embarrassed by being around you. Now we're looking at you and like, how did that happen? And yet maybe it's that I had a stroke and that resilience was maybe so strong. I think mainly by determination. Second, by having amazing friends around me. And third, by I started out pretty healthy. So thank you. Um, live every day your life so fully. Because after that stroke, now every day to me feels like an incredible gift. Thank you. Live on. Be happy.